Well, welcome to Raw Talk.
Raw Talk.
We told you last week that we're going to bring in somebody, and so we're excited to have Brandon Ramsey with us today.
Yeah, good friend.
Before we bring him in, though, let me ask you, Zach,
okay.
Do you have, like, when Heather drives, does she drive you around quite a bit?
Yeah, if y'all don't know, I hate to drive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hate to drive. So I'm a good passenger. But
are you a backseat driver?
No.
So you don't say nothing.
Nothing.
And she
I
drives
know where
good,
I'm going. I'm horrible with directions.
Well, see, my wife is not from Louisiana, and and we're pretty notorious for potholes.
Oh.
And I think Melissa, I grew up, you always avoided the potholes.
Hit them.
And I think she hits them straight on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I drive, I think less than 6 miles a day, just to work and home and stuff. Heather drives 60 miles a day, so she's always out.
She got some experience.
Yeah, so she drives a lot better than I do. So,
okay.
But if we go on trips, she wants me to man up and drive.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why? You're the better driver. But she says that's what a man does. So I drive when we go to Dallas or Florida or whatever, but I don't understand it. But I will.
Yeah. I got you. Well, it's good to have Brandon here with us today, and he's a good friend of ours, but he's also a licensed counselor, and so tune in as we discuss midlife crises.
Yeah, and as Brandon's going to probably say, just crisis, just dealing with it.
There we go.
It's going to be good. It's going to be real good. This is one I've been really, really excited about.
Yeah, you kind of.
I'm there. I'm kind of at that point.
Yeah.
So
kind of. You say you was gonna bring a box of Kleenex.
Yeah. It ain't no. I mean, it could get emotional.
So.
I mean, no telling.
All right.
But I'm excited about it though. There we go.
All right, we're on Raw Talk podcast. We told you last week that we would have a special guest, and we got Brandon Ramsey.
I don't know if I'd call it special, but definitely guest.
Well, it depends on your definition of special.
I am special.
And so you take it how you want it. But you've been a good friend of mine for a long time, so I can joke with you that way.
Yeah. And I've known Zach.
I just met him. Just met him.
I
think we've known each other since we, 3 or 4 at least?
At least the Ramseys and the Yateses go way back.
Yes, we do.
I used to strike him out in baseball.
No, you did not.
I did not.
Your brother hit me one time when I was hitting. He was pitching, and he hit me, and he met me about halfway down the first base line and said, "I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit you," type of thing.
He's softer.
I swung at him, but no, we've always been friends.
Well, Brandon, you got was it Faith in the Family
Counseling Center.
Faith in the Family Counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And so the topic of the day, we said last week that we wanted to talk about some men maybe encountering or contemplating midlife crisis. And that don't necessarily have to be midlife crisis, but just the whole mundane, just like not thriving as men. So that's kind of the topic we kind of want to approach today.
Well, the first thing you got to approach when you're talking about midlife crisis is the word's wrong. It's changed.
What is it now?
Well, I mean, it's still called the midlife crisis, but it's different. As in, the midlife crisis used to happen later in life, and we're finding midlife crisis happen way earlier in life.
Okay, so what are you saying? Way
30s,
30s,
mid 30s.
Okay.
Is because have so much expectation on us as men.
Yeah.
We are told that you've got to work.
Would you say that's the same in women?
Definitely, but different.
Okay.
Society is pushing for the woman to be more in the workforce and all that stuff. Women find more of their need or their value in parenting in a lot of cases. Now, the society's pushing them to be out and not be valued as a parent or as a mother and stuff like that. But they see how good are they as a wife, how good are they as a mother. How are they taking care of their home? How are they doing those things? And they feel like everybody else has it better because you look at Instagram, you look at all this stuff, which that's one of the reasons men's doing the same thing is we're comparing ourselves to all these guys that are in the gym 24/7 or
that's
these
me.
Guys, yeah, exactly.
24/7.
You're the one comparing yourself to the one in the gym.
Okay.
Or money, you can make $1 million in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, we're being told over and over, you've got to be successful. You've got to be at this point. And if you're not doing that by 20, you're too old. Okay. And so we've got guys that are at 30 thinking, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not earning what I should. So they're going through these midlife crises to try to just change everything in their life. And so where it used to be an older age, midlife was, we thought we were going to live till 80. Well, your midlife came to late 40s, 50s, and now it's coming at 30s. So it's not really a midlife crisis. It's a crisis in your life is what's really going on.
That's
so
crazy.
a lot of guys that are struggling at 30, they don't realize they're going through a midlife crisis. They just think, life's harder. I'm not successful. And they're making huge differences in their marriage. They're making decisions to get out of marriages early and not work at it. They're making huge decisions in their career and just saying it's because I'm not happy. It's not because they haven't, because sometimes in business it takes you until you're 35, 40 to get to that point. But if you're not a millionaire by 30, it's like, oh, I'm not succeeding, so let me jump ship and make a
Justin's
difference.
telling us to change
Yeah,
professions.
I miss my boat.
I miss my boat.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I've been doing what I've been doing for 20 something years. I've been in private practice for 16, and I'm still not successful.
So why diving a little bit deeper into that thought of like they're jumping ship or they're looking for a change or whatever, why is it that we as men naturally gravitate to the grass is greener on the other side of the fence? Like, I know that's a very subjective question.
Well, the biggest thing is we as men are told we are bred to achieve. Everything we do, we're told, do this, get this, check it off that you have been great, type of thing. So we are told to achieve from the day we're born. You're going to grow up, you're going to find a wife, you're going to provide, protect, all those are check off boxes.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to us, we're looking to perform, we're looking to achieve, we want a successful. Everything we do is a competition. Think about it as a kid. We don't just go out and throw a rock in the pond. We go, look, can I throw it farther than you? Can I do whatever? So everything is about achieving to us as men.
Well, you kind of addressed the adventure side of it, but how can we continue to have that adventure, or how can we like navigate that in our mind? Because we're made for adventure, right?
Absolutely.
As males.
I think number one, you've got to have accountability with guys that are pushing you to be what you're supposed to be, and be honest with you. That will look at you and go, man, wait, you're not thinking straight, type of thing. Because I can convince myself of anything. I can sit down and rationalize any behavior that I want to rationalize and think it's because of what I want. I can make it true. We've got, you talk about the grass is greener on the other side. There's so many people that'll sit and they'll leave their marriage because they look at it as, I'm not happy here, but if I could get another girl, or if I could get another something else, that grass over there, that's the new achievement type of thing. Because what I'm doing right now is not fulfilling me anymore. And so I'm looking for that.
All right, so
instead of doing the work to achieve,
and that's where I was going to hit. What if some of the guys out there, or women, or whoever's listening, you've started your marriage, man, it's great. You got 2 kids, they're great. You got the house, picket fence, the dog, man, kids successful, doing well. And now you look at it like, I've achieved, I've done, I've worked, and now what's next? Not only, I think there's one side, like we're talking about, where you don't feel like you have. Yeah. And then, because I kind of look at myself, and we're real honest here, on this podcast, and, I'm kind of getting to that stage of, hey, man, my kid's leaving to college. My daughter's halfway through high school. I do have a good marriage. I have a good business. And now my life is slowed down to a certain pace.
My life be like.
And I'm just kind of like, man, what can I do to give this a shot of adrenaline? And
because the mundane's coming.
The mundane's coming.
Well, number one's not be scared of the mundane.
I guess acknowledge that it is coming.
It is not going to always be this race that I am adrenaline pumped. Some of the greatest thing that people do is just maintain that sometimes. And we get to that point like, oh, I'm always looking for that next hill. Well, my next hill might be being a great husband for 5-10 years, to get involved in my church or in my community and mentor somebody and help them get to that point. So my new achievement has got to. I've got to recheck myself all the time.
I guess you got to channel it in the right direction.
Absolutely. I should never just go, this is what it needs to be, and I need to be the best at this forever.
Yeah.
I've got to look at my deal and go, okay, yeah, maybe it was achieving for me, but for the next couple of years, I need to be a mentor to somebody and help them make that jump. I mean, guys that don't have a business sitting back and going, hey, let me tell you, and then you get that, hey, I'm helping people. I'm pouring into somebody's life.
Now, this sounds great, and this is one thing, you know, on this podcast we also try to do. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And I know you get paid and you're a licensed professional, and, you know, somebody comes sit in your office and they're going through this and you're giving that advice. Now, you go home and to apply that.
Absolutely. That's the hardest thing. I tell people all the time that my job's easy. I get to sit and philosophize.
Yeah.
You got to go outside this door and go do the work.
So give me a percent. I mean, how many guys are coming back saying, man, that's really, really hard. Like, that's like, I'm struggling with the idea of, I mean, I call it boredom or mundane or whatever you want to say, or I'm struggling with not setting a goal or achieving it above what, you know, because really and truly, I mean, at some point, you know, I can't say, oh, I'm going to go start another business.
Gotcha.
I don't have the resources,
Absolutely.
you know, and at my age, I don't have the energy, you know, but what I want to do here in my head and what I think about, I mean, if we're honest, like, what runs through here would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it would be, if I could achieve 3 out of the million things, I would feel, oh man, this is great.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like, to me, it's like sometimes when you buy, you know, it's like buying the car scenario.
Yeah.
You buy a car, you love that car, and then after about 3 months and you're paying that note, like, you don't like that car anymore.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, I got this great idea, and I'm gonna go, and then you realize, you know what? That's not doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, in a marriage, it's like the grass is greener. I'm gonna divorce my wife. I'm gonna go get remarried, date this girl, do this, and you realize, man, I got the same problems with her that I did with this
before.
one.
I brought them into the relationship.
That's
myself.
right.
Well,
You see a lot of that. I mean,
without a doubt. But the other side of that is some of that determines on perspective. Because I might say, well, mentoring somebody's not as cool as going out and starting my own other business.
Yeah.
Deciding on the perspective of what's really what I need to do in my life. But the other side is, as I say, don't ever make a decision quickly out of emotion. People want to say that men aren't emotional. We're the most emotional.
Mm-hmm.
We are extremely emotional. We just hide it better.
Okay.
And so we'll make a decision and convince ourselves, I can do this out of emotion of this sounds great. But if you were to take a week or 2 weeks and really do the research of it, you'd look at it and go, there's a lot of holes.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I am so glad I didn't act on that the first day that I thought of. And that's another thing that leads guys into midlife crisis is they go, and all these things have fallen apart because they're going on emotion instead of reality. They haven't run it by a mentor or somebody else that's been in the business. You know, if I'm going to look at building a business or I'm looking at doing a barbershop or something that's geared toward men, me and you are going to sit down for a while and I'm going to say, hey, talk to me about this. What went on? I'm not just going to go, oh, that sounds good, let's go. Because I'm going to fail half the time. And then I'm going to put my value on how many times I've failed.
So let's not just keep this in the world of business or whatever. Let's break it down, because I think a lot of guys out there, even later in life, is your sex life.
Oh, without a doubt.
You know, I mean,
Without a
you've been
doubt.
married for.
You got one of those?
Well,
If my wife's watching, I'm just gonna give thumbs up. And all good at the Yates house. Very happy man.
Good.
But I mean, we can do it in business.
sure.
We also can do it, and let's take it to the, you know, and we'll kind of go down a list, I guess.
Sure.
You know, for the guys, and say, you know, your marriage / sex life.
Absolutely.
And it's like, hey, I've been with my wife now, I mean, dating and married 29 years.
Absolutely.
And we've been married for 20. And you go in and you're just like, man, this is, I mean, and I'm 45, and I'm going to be married to my wife for, you know, for hopefully another 40-something years.
Dude, I started dating my wife when I was 14.
Yeah, I was 16.
Yeah,
I mean, we were right there
we were right
together.
there, yeah.
So talk about that. Talk about, like, what's that mindset look like? You know, what do you see in the office
Me
when it
and
comes
you've
to that?
talked about this a ton
We
of
have.
time because if for men, because we don't have areas like this to talk, and we're definitely not as confident as we want to be talking about sex and stuff like that, other than the locker room stuff.
Yeah.
If it's not going well, we're not usually going to talk to another man. 90% of the time, we're going to move to something we shouldn't move to, and we're going to research via pornography, or we're going to research via something else that's outside of the marriage, and it will cause unbelievable problems and unrealistic problems, that we're going to go, well, it should be like this, and she doesn't act like that, or I don't act like that, or I can never do that, or whatever. And then we're going to look at it, and it's going to be even less fulfilling to us, whether it be the medical side of it that it does to your brain, or it be the performance side of it that I can't do that, or I can't be that type of thing. So when it comes to sex life, one of the things that's causing some of the biggest problems is where are we getting our information from?
Well, do you think it's easier instead of the reason why they gravitate to that? I mean, I think I know the answer when I ask this question, but I want to discuss it. It's easier to gravitate to porn or anything instead of try to sit there and work on their relationship.
Oh, 100%.
Or be honest, because I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I hate confrontation, or I hate
being turned down.
Yeah, no, I hate being turned down.
I hate being turned down.
And that's one of the biggest things.
Like, that's a shot
to the soul.
Oh, it's a shot to the soul. That you want to talk about midlife crisis happen when you get turned down, because you get in a part of a marriage where no marriage is going to be, let's go lay in the bed every single night, have amazing sex every night. But hey,
I can't
that
get the
computer
kids out
says
of the
it's
room.
that way.
Yeah, you're still in that young age.
Well,
no, man, this is my high school students. They be like, they want to talk about the problems at 10:30 at night.
Yeah,
you're telling them I got plenty of problems.
If you'll
leave, I'll get rid of one of my problems. But you won't leave my room, type of thing. I'm gonna keep this problem as long as you stay around. Which I always told my wife I was done with 2. And she kept telling me, it's like, no, I need a 3rd. And I was like, I'm done with 2.
We did the same thing.
Yeah, but the problem is, I was done. My kid both of my kids could get in, buckle themselves in the back of the car,
wipe their own butt.
Everything was great. She says, I'm not done. I said, hey, you don't understand. I love the number 47. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're killing me. I love 47.
Time they be out of my house.
That's 18 when they're out. I'm done.
Yeah,
like,
I got mine at 48.
Yeah, the problem is we have a 3rd now, and mine's she made my number bigger. And
but you love her.
Like that. Oh, she's my baby. She's the one that'll kill me.
Yeah,
but she's my baby type of thing. So, but we get in there, and like you had said, pornography or the computer never says no.
I know,
and I can click and I can do it. I can be in charge. It makes me feel whatever I want.
You don't get turned down.
I don't get turned down, and I get exactly what I want. That's a recipe for disaster. And that's a recipe to look at it and go, if that's that easy, and that girl on there or that guy, they do that all the time, why don't we? So there must be something messed up with us.
Yeah.
So why would I go through the turning down? Why would I go through the communication? Why would I have that hard talk?
Why do I got to go to counseling?
Why would I ever go to counseling? Some idiot telling me what to do type of thing. It's a problem. And then
so I've been fortunate to have guys like Brandon and Justin and other friends in my life to pour into me and a great church. And one thing that I found is that me pursuing my wife in my marriage now is probably the biggest fulfillment that I get. And also the pursuit of making sure, my son Jackson going to college is set up, and I'm feeling like I have to have that, and that's where I'm putting my energy and my time. And, me and Heather are very adamant about dating and doing and talking. And, and I know I also get the opportunity to talk to a lot of guys that are like, hey man, I'm finna get a divorce, or hey, I'm finna lose my, I'm not enjoying my marriage. And, I'm like, okay, well, tell me what that looks like. And they're just like, man. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And they're like, they don't do anything. I mean, they come home and they get in their lazy boy and they watch their TV, and then they just think everything should be good. I'm like, man, you're like going on a baseball team and just go sit in the dugout and never getting in the field. I mean, how much fun can you be if you're not in the game?
Absolutely.
And I said, you're taking yourself out because you think, I'm already lost the game, so I don't want to play in it because it won't be my fault.
Is that why you feel like that some folks get to the point where it's like they'll just rather burn it all down and start it all over?
That's right.
Instead of trying
Absolutely.
Yeah, if they think it's going to lose, they don't want nothing to do with it.
They think it's going to lose, or they don't want to do the work to do it. And we've been conditioned to pretty much say, if it's not easy, it's not right. You know, if she doesn't approach you, if she doesn't agree with you, if you've got to work hard, then there must be something wrong with your relationship. And so a lot of guys are getting married 10, 20. I mean, I'm seeing 25 to 30 year marriages coming into me, and it's not easy anymore. They've either, the kids are gone, so they had been focusing on the kids. Wherever you get your fulfillment, they've been focusing on the kids. They've been focusing on jobs. They've been focusing on getting to this point, and they get there, and then the kids are gone, and they're kind of like, oh, I don't know how to do this. So why don't we just say we'll both be happier without it, and then I can go and chase something else. And a lot of guys, because we don't like to suffer, will start looking for that stuff, that midlife crisis, before we end the marriage. And so we'll say, oh, well, she's nice to me, she's cute, she's giving me attention. Same thing happens with women, you know.
Yeah.
And so now, instead of going and fixing that because he or she is messed up so much, I need that grass is greener type of thing, because it's going to be so much easier.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and this is kind of where I go with some of the guys I talk to. If we look at our marriage and we relate it to our hobbies, because I know you play golf, you're a hunter, Justin does his music, you know, I like to fish. I go fishing a lot of times, I don't catch no fish. You go hunting, and you know, I know you go to Kansas a lot, and you go all over the place to hunt, kill deer and turkey, and you don't always kill.
Nope.
And
Harvest.
Yes. And I know you play golf, and you're not that great.
And don't always hit the ball.
Never said I was good at it.
But why in our psyche and our mindset do you see that we don't I don't go burn my boat down because, you know, I don't do that, or I don't give up, but we'll give up on marriage, or we'll give up on our job. We'll give up on so many things, except for the things like our hobbies or whatever. I mean, do you see a lot of that?
The thing is with a hobby, when you go fishing and you don't catch anything, number one, you find some peace or happiness in it. So you get something.
Yeah.
You might not catch that fish, but you get something out of it. But you go home, and what is the first thing? Next time I'm going to catch it.
Yeah.
I play golf. I have a horrible round. I look at it, and I had that one shot that is like, I could hit it like that every time next time. We go hunting, and me and you've talked about turkey hunting. You know, we think, oh, but the process was fun, and we know where he is next time, so I'm going to get him next time. In marriage, we're relying on somebody else to do stuff too, and we don't have either faith or trust in them or ourselves that we could fix it. So we look at it and go, this is how it's always going to be. If I told you without a doubt you were never, ever, ever going to catch another fish, or if you did, it's going to be a little bitty dinky, you know, like this, and it's going to rain on you every single time you go fishing. If I told you every time you strummed your guitar, the strings were going to break, it's never going to sound good, and people are going to tell you you're horrible, you'd put that stuff down.
Yeah.
And so they get into a marriage, and they're like, I don't have the skills, or because marriage is two people working together, they start to blame the other person. They're never going to be anything different. So why would I keep doing it?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, you know, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, why would I do that if I think it's going to be the exact same?
Okay, so a couple has issues. Why do you think, and this is one thing I had to process, is why do you think that you will avoid the pain on the front end to have, you know, a better enjoyment on the back end, instead of just, I don't know. You know, the question I'm asking is, it's like, oh, you got something that's bothering you, or something that you want to change, and,
like
you know it's going to stir a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
You know, when you start poking that puppy, but you know it's got to be stirred up for it to get better. And so why does couples just naturally like just avoid that? Because I'm sure there's things my wife, you know, like, don't bring that up around, you know, daddy, or you know, so I'm guessing, you know, because, you know, I do the same thing a little bit about Melissa. Like, I don't want to address that with Melissa, because I don't want to stir the nest
one, you
up.
said it earlier, you don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
So many people do not like confrontation. You also know confrontation in your marriage is going to make your life miserable. I won't be able to sit down and watch my show and be quiet if I know she's mad at me, because we don't like our spouses, even if we can't stand them, to be mad at us.
Yeah.
It is that accomplishment I'm not protecting. I'm not making them feel comfortable. I hurt them, even if we think there's a reason behind it, we don't feel good if that's happening. So I'm going to be uncomfortable if I bring confrontation up in my home. So I'm not going to do that. Or we're the kind that love confrontation. That's the person that has no problem saying whatever because they're not getting their way or they're not happy or whatever. And you have two people that all of a sudden you're the bully. And I was like, I don't want to feel like a bully. I don't want to feel like this. So it's kind of like, I don't, that's one of the reasons that most marriages fall apart because they don't know how to work together. They don't know how to be on a team.
Have those hard
Now, is it
conversations.
okay? So you said be a team. I think about being a team. That's one working together on whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
But that's also communication.
100%.
That's accepting each other's strong suits
Absolutely.
and their weaknesses. I know where my wife. I know where she's strong in a lot of areas,
Absolutely.
and she's got one or two weak areas. You know, and and
raw talk.
Raw talk.
Exactly. Tell the truth.
Wink, wink. But it's one of those things where after 20, I've accepted where she's weak,
Absolutely.
and I don't. Do you think we, and when I say we, maybe men or whatever, we have these expectations that, hey, we set when we were in our 20s and we got married. Now we're in our 30s and 40s, and we're still expecting these people to be the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what I told Heather. I said, baby, you know, the man I was in my 20s
Not the same.
isn't the same guy I am today.
Absolutely.
I mean, just with the change of my body
Yes.
is not going to allow me to be the same man.
Absolutely.
With the wisdom that have occurred, or the traumas that I've had, or the wounds that I've carried for these years that I know how to deal with, or the new ones that I've gotten, from failed businesses, or maybe relationship with friends or family. So I'm not the same guy you married. And do you see that a lot of people are not accepting of that as they go through? And so what would you tell somebody?
But I would also say this: yes, 100% not accepting it, but holding them accountable for mistakes they made.
Yeah.
You can sit there and say, "Oh, you're not the same person. You don't treat me the same." But I'm gonna hold you accountable for that thing you did wrong 6 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, and won't allow an old wound to get healed, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then we get those old wounds that don't get healed, or some of the things. I know we're getting on relational stuff, but those are things that cause midlife crisis. It's like I never healed from that. I never grew from that. I never turned around and went, hey, this is better for me, and I'm still hurting and trying to make up for that wound. I didn't win, get the state championship, or I didn't make the last play. That coach didn't play me, so I'm still fighting that. And I get to 35 and realize I can't go back and play high school ball.
Yeah.
I can't go make the pros anymore, type of thing. I can't make that business. And so I'm not accomplishing what I thought I was going to at 20. So now at 35, I feel like a failure, and I'm trying to start all over or do something extreme to give me that feeling that I didn't get when I was 18, or try to get a feeling I did get when maybe I was the starting quarterback. But now I'm looking at it and going, okay, well, that was really fun. I peaked in 12th grade, and now I'm in a marriage that I don't feel like the boss. I don't feel like a superstar, and I'm used to that. So now I'm going to find something that's going to make me feel that way, and whether that is spending a ton of money, or just trashing a marriage, or trashing your job, or whatever, to try to go feel like I'm more important than maybe I am. That's going to cause that midlife crisis to run out and do those type of things.
So when you counsel and you come in, and I think of the blame game, like the justification of why I'm going through things. And I know when I get in an argument with Heather, or I get in an argument with a friend, and I've got, and I want to justify where I'm trying to get.
Sure.
Like, hey, I really want this, or I need this. When I go to Heather, and I can remember, us buying something, and I'd be like, Heather, I just need this. And she's like, babe, we don't need it. I'm like, you don't understand. You're not. And so sometimes what I get when I get to talking to guys is that your spouse, your person is not going to understand you because they're not a man.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men are trying to get their validation through their wives.
Yes.
And they're not realizing your wives look at stuff totally different than you do.
Absolutely.
And
you want them to.
You want them, yeah.
Raw talk. I don't want to be married to a man.
Yeah.
I want to be married to a woman. So
Amen.
why would I want her to think like me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm expecting her to just understand, I'm either expecting her to think like me or for her to just take whatever I want.
Okay.
So I either want to be in control or I want her to think like me.
And I think those things that sometimes that's supposed to complement each other starts competing.
Well-
That's why you're not a teammate.
Okay.
It's because we are in a yes-no argument. How many yes-no arguments do you think we have
Yeah.
in relationships?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm not sure if we're talking about midlife crisis or relationships now,
Well, I think
but it's the same. If
it's
you're not
very
happy
much-
in your marriage,
Yeah.
that's going to be the number. Because midlife crisis happen because we're not fulfilled in something we want to be fulfilled in.
And we're going to blame, to me, okay, so I'm 45, you know, I'm getting to that midlife part of my life. And when I'm mad or I'm upset or I'm bored or whatever, though I have to blame Heather first because she's my partner.
Yeah.
And she maybe, you know, I mean, who else can I hold except for myself,
Sure.
which I don't want
Which
to do
we don't
that.
like doing that.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Who else held me back?
Yeah.
It's not you guys. It's not my friends.
Yeah.
Y'all would, if I said, hey, y'all, I'm going to go start, you know, this business without y'all knowing, y'all be like, man, Zach, I mean, yeah, might be a good idea. That's
Yeah.
great.
Sure.
But Heather, she'll go, like, do we really need to do that right now? You know, do we really? And so we start this justification of it's got to be her fault.
Yeah.
Or then we go down the list, it's our kids' fault,
Yeah.
or it's our family or our in-laws or whoever. And so we start this justification of blaming other people instead of just saying, hey, man, I created this life. I've made these decisions,
Absolutely.
and I need to live with the decisions I've made and own them.
Yes.
And then if I don't like them, then and if they're unhealthy,
Yes.
then I need to make some changes, right?
Which is why you need men
That's why you need
that
men.
are of like mind.
That's right.
I believe in many cases, almost every case of like faith level, that you need to have those men that could look at you and go, hey, I love what you're talking about and I can see your passion in it, but let's talk about a few things.
Yeah.
You know, why are you at this point? Why are you making this decision? Hey, bud, I've been in your life. I've seen the situations that didn't go very well. You don't think you're making the same
All right.
decision?
So as many men that you probably counseled and talked to, and I'm thinking of my friends or even myself, how many guys and the guys out there in the world, stop for a minute and think, how many guys got those guys? How many
many.
people really have those
No.
kind of relationships?
because we're
How many are
separate,
scared of those
Oh,
relationships?
yeah.
depending on who you are and where you are in your life.
Yeah.
You know, if you've made a mistake and you have ruined your life, think about it. They call it hitting rock bottom for a reason. The guys that hit rock bottom, you know what they start looking for? Ways to pull themselves back up and get help. It's the ones that think they're at the top that don't want to look at any mistakes or what it might cost you, that are like, well, I don't need that. I don't need you to tell me what I can and can't do. So it depends on where you are in your life. If you've been unbelievably successful in a lot of things, very rarely are those kind of guys that are going to look at it and go, well, I need help with this, or I need to run something by something. They're going to look at it and go, well, I was good at this, I was good at this, I was good at this, so I don't need anything. Those are the ones that are at danger
Yeah.
in their life because they're like, I've never had to ask anybody for anything. And then now I'm at a situation where I don't know how to fix my marriage. I don't know how to fix this business. I don't know how to fix how I feel right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, I've never asked, and they won't come to a counselor. They won't come to friends. And the other side of that is, even if you have those friends, I tell people all the time, not everybody's cut out to be an accountability partner.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to say, dude, I love you more than anything in the world, but that's stupid. You know, you're going to lose. You're
Yeah.
lost your mind type
Yeah.
of thing. If you're not willing to stand up and say that and say, I love you, and you're going to be mad at me, then you're not ready to be an accountability partner. And a lot of people that are dealing with addiction, that are dealing with a bad marriage, that are dealing with business problems, they will ask somebody, and that person will say, yeah, I'll help you out. Then they never talk to them again.
Yeah.
Like the accountability partner doesn't come
Well-
keep you accountable. So it's kind of like, wait a second, are you being an accountability partner if you don't ever go check up and say, hey, man, I need to know what's going on?
So think about it like this, and do you see, or because I know I see it, I get guys get to talking, and I'm like, man, okay, well, who you going to? Who you talking to about this? And they, you know, and they'll tell me somebody, and I'm like, he's been married twice, you know, like, is he the best guy?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
to really do that. He's, you know, if you're talking about business, hadn't that guy like had 16 jobs in the past 4 years? Like why?
Because we run to the ones that'll tell us what we want to hear.
That's kind of where I'm going to, and I think a lot of guys out there,
a lot of them may tell you what not to do.
I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They could. Now, the ones I'd usually hear about are like, they'll say, oh, well, she ain't having sex with you, or, man, you're not doing that. Man, that ain't right. Even the Bible says, you know, she can't hold a body from you. You know, they start quoting scripture and kind of make it all just for,
Which
you know.
Scripture talks to you way more than it talks to her about
That's
that
right.
first, too.
That's right. But it's one of those things where, man, I'm like, ooh, that's not good advice. Like,
No.
you need to step back from that relationship and, like, can I help you find somebody a little bit more, you know? And I've sent tons of people to
Absolutely.
Brandon
Absolutely.
and, you know, saying, hey, man, that's a good friend, and, man, he'll be there if something bad happens, you know. But let me send you to somebody who really is going to call you out on maybe some of these things that maybe I don't even understand.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think, like you said, equally yoked,
That's-
being around
that's a big
equally
deal.
yoked people is huge.
And somebody will tell you the truth either way
Yeah.
to look at them. One of the things I tell people all the time is whatever decision you're going to make, you might have two decisions. You're going to go through the same amount of pain on either one.
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to go through the pain and fix it and work it through. It might be a lot of pain at the first, but you have the life that you want afterwards. Or you're going to go through that pain and it's going to be spread out over time.
Yeah.
And you're going to deal with something a long time. And some people are like, oh, that's just too hard to deal with. I'd rather go do this. You're going to deal with stuff.
Yeah,
in
that's
that
what we
other
talked about not too
situation,
long ago, is like dealing with issues, because if you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you.
It's going to
Yeah.
deal with you, and you're going to deal with the pain no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to deal with, you know, yes, you might leave your marriage and not have to deal with, you know, a bad relationship or a relationship where you're not communicating or you're holding each other accountable for stuff or whatever. But then you're going to deal with loneliness. If you've got kids, you're going to deal with how it affects them.
Yeah, mhm.
You're going to deal with your, you know,
Finance, losing half of
finance, you're
everything.
gonna lose at least half of
At
everything.
least half
it's
everything.
it's more expensive to get a divorce than it is to, because you're going to pay lawyer stuff
That's
that
right.
doesn't go to either one of y'all. But the other side of that is, and especially if you have kids,
The wounds that you give them.
the wounds you're going to get, the wounds you give them. But the other side is, you still have a relationship with this person.
Yeah.
So
forever.
many people look at it and say, "Oh, well, I won't have to deal with them." Every graduation, every birthday, every grandkid you have, all that kind of stuff. Yes, you will,
Okay.
Awkward
and,
So-
and it's only going to get worse.
So we've talked about, you know, maybe your job. We talked about your marriage. Justin, what else we got?
Well,
you know.
I just think like one question I got is so how does depression fit within
Oh,
that?
man.
Because I don't want to go too deep in that, because I think that's a whole topic in
Yeah.
itself.
Oh, without doubt.
But I think a lot of men our age are dealing with that because they're like they feel unfulfilled, or maybe they hadn't accomplished like they wanted to,
Sure.
or things are not like how they thought it should be, or
Sure.
whatever, and I think they're just like
Depressed.
struggling with it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
Call
depressed.
it-
I mean, like you said, we're called for accomplishment, and when you feel like you're not accomplishing, or your marriage or your life or your career or your kids or whatever is not to the standard you think they should, then you're going to start feeling down. You're going to, and then if you see, the thing is, depression doesn't go. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "I'm going to start an addiction today."
Yeah.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "I'm going to start an affair today." Now, it might happen in a day, but they don't wake up thinking, "I'm going to do this today, get it all over with." Same thing with depression. Nobody wakes up and goes, "Yeah, I'm depressed." It's one little step, and then another little step, and then another little step. And the next thing you know is like, "Oh my gosh, how did I get here?" And so in a life that you're not achieving, you're not fulfilled, it's like one little hit. And then another little hit. The next thing you know is like, man, I can't get anything right, or nothing's going right in my life. And then then what happens is that depression says, okay, going fishing, playing your guitar, playing golf, or going hunting. That's what usually makes you happy.
Yeah, no, that don't.
And now your depression is saying,
Yeah.
you don't really want to do that. You're too
Yeah.
tired. You don't feel good. Why don't you just stay in the bed? Why don't you just watch this movie? Why don't you click on that? It'll make you feel good, really good.
Yeah.
And you start relying on other things that take what used to make you happy, and you don't have anything. It's like, why are you happy? Man, I got this going on in my life. Well, now I've cut those things out. Like, why are you happy? I don't know. I'm not.
Okay, so Justin's the smart side of this show, and I call myself the simple side. You know, yeah. I mean, that's if you listen, he uses big words, and he used $10 words, and I use 50-cent words. So and the only reason I know this is because when I get to talking to guys, and I'm like, man, it sounds like you're depressed, and they go, I'm not depressed, and I'm saying, what are you? How can you? Why would you say that? And so as I got a clinical guy here, if you had to define depression, you know what I'm saying? Like if a guy's sitting out there right now and he's going, man, I'm not depressed. How would you, if he was in your office, what would some kind of a definition, or what would that look? I mean, not just a word for word definition, but even like signs of, hey man, if you're doing this and this is beginning stage, or if you ain't getting out of bed for 6 days, I mean that's pretty obvious. But this is maybe the beginning, because we were talking about this early. A lot of guys, if we can catch them in the beginning stage, then maybe they won't stay in bed for 6 days or whatever. So what is some of the beginning stages to watch for in that?
Things that used to make you happy don't make you happy anymore.
Okay.
Going fishing doesn't really lift you anymore. You don't have any, not just you're upset with your work. Let's say a boss does something, you're like, I don't want to go in today because I'm mad at what he did or whatever. But if you get to the point you're like, it's not just not liking my job, it's I don't even want to go type of thing. You start to see that pulling away. Like I see no positivity in it and things like that. So anytime you start pulling off of things that used to make you happy and you're not happy anymore, that's one. If you can't remember a time in the last month that you were happy, I know happy is an emotion, but that's how we gauge it. If you're like, there was never a time that I went, I'm glad that happened, or I felt good about that, then you're probably going through that. If you can't, a lot of people will look at it and say, they're sleeping enormous amount of time. Like your body does not need that much sleep.
When I'm depressed, I go to bed.
Absolutely. And there's people that are sleeping, like going to bed at night and then all weekend long staying, I'm just tired because I worked all week long. Your body does not need that much sleep. My daughter's
needs a lot of ice cream.
You'll need more sleep if you eat a lot of ice cream, one of the two type of thing. But there's times, and people will look at it and go, well, I work hard and I'm tired. Your body does not need that. So if you're having an extreme amount, or if you don't have any at all, see the extremes are the problem. I always tell people, you can come and talk to me and I can help you, or other counselors can help you and all that stuff. But if you're not taking care of your sleep, in other words, getting enough and not getting too much, you're not taking care of your diet. And dude, I'm the worst about a diet type of thing. But what I mean by that is not going on a diet, but eating decent food. You're not just putting crap in your body or binging. Not putting anything in. Binging, doing that stuff. That's another thing I'll get to in a second. So eating correctly, eating decent, and doing some type of activity. If you're not doing something with your life, even if it's just go walk for 30 minutes a day or something like that, you've got to do those things first before any mental health is going to help you. And the
do you say that's like, just building habits?
Building positive habits, because I can build negative habits all day. But yes, positive habits are important, but it's intentional positive habits.
Sure.
I can do positive things by accident, but I'm not going to build on it as much as I'm going. With one of the best things you can do, if you get in that point where you're like, I'm not getting out of bed, or I'm not doing that, I call it scheduling happiness. So if I'm depressed and I've just been sitting in my office helping, imagine that, a counselor depressed, because I'm just talking to people all the time.
I would beat my head against that wooden wall right there.
That's why I call you and say, hey, y'all want to go to lunch?
Yeah.
It's because I got to have some positive interaction that is not me trying to help.
That's why I try not to tell you all my issues when I'm at lunch.
But
I don't know how good that is.
That's that idea of scheduling. Like, I'm going to schedule this, and I know I'm going to go play golf on this day, or I know I'm going to go out to lunch with you on this day. And then when I get there, I don't let my feeling keep me from doing it. I look at it, and that's the same thing with how to battle a midlife crisis. I'm going to live my life this way. I'm going to make decisions like this. And when I get to that point and I don't want to, I do it anyway. Because it's the right way to do it, and it's going to make me later on go, Oh, that was good.
So, is that? I mean, that's, and like we if you're out there and you're listening, and it's one of those things. That's beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's healthy from the jump. That's everyday health.
Yeah, it's everyday
That's just what nowadays is kind of what we call a mental health check.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's becoming big now.
Oh, without a doubt.
Me and Justin was talking about that, you know, not long ago. You see a lot more of that. You see a lot more of that mental health check-in,
Yes.
or you see it on social media now.
Yep.
And
I think every marriage should go to a marriage conference one year and go to a marriage counselor the next year.
Okay.
You might walk in and go, I think my marriage is perfect. I think everything's great. I think we're doing great. I'm happy. But there's some things that relationally that therapist can say, well, how are y'all doing with this?
Yeah.
How are you doing with that? And you might go, oh, we need to work on that. Or, no, we're doing great. And you leave going, hey, we're doing great. We come back in 2 years type of thing.
yeah,
But it at least gives you that checkup to make sure I'm not just rationalizing that I do communicate enough, you know, or it's okay that I'm not at home because I'm working all the time. Well, if your family is going, wait a second, it's not okay, then it's not okay, you know. So I believe you should go to a marriage conference every other year, and you should go to a therapist once every other year. You know, stagger them out.
Yeah.
The same way with maybe even your own mental health. Sit down with somebody, whether it be your best friend that you really have a accountability thing, or whether you sit down and go, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing as a husband? How are you doing as a father? How are you doing in your work life? How are you doing in your faith life? How are you doing right now? And really ask those questions. Go, no, I want to know. Don't give me the crap, because I'm living it too. Because in just a minute, you're going to get my crap too.
Yeah.
I'm going to lay it on you. Having that time that you sit down and go, okay, because if we don't do it, then what we go is like, oh, nobody does this. Nobody's ever asked me how they're doing.
Well, that's
I ain't doing it. You know.
so that goes back to what we were talking, you know, kind of how this whole thing started with the men retreats and all that. And you put, you know, 40 guys up to 100 in a room, and you get real talk, and everybody's talking, and this guy stands up and says, man, I'm just not happy in this. And this guy stands up and says, man, I'm ready to quit my job. And this guy stands up and says, man, I'm addicted to porn, and you know, I'm just not happy with my sex life. And everybody else is going around going, me too, and me too, and me too, and me too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important for our listeners to know, is like, man, there's nothing that one man's going through that I mean, there's 3 guys in this room right now. There's nobody else helping or anything. So there's 3 guys in here, and if we just really sat here and talked about our daily lives and our daily struggles, we're going to relate to kids or work or whatever. And, you know, we do that all the time together.
Sure.
And it's one of those things like, man, I always say, you know, there's 7 deadly sins. And, you know, Satan didn't need 14 or 21 or 120. 7 of them was enough.
Absolutely.
And because we all can identify with those.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so when I get to talking to guys or whatever, I'm like, man, that's not uncommon. Don't think you are just a unicorn. You know, you're not doing this. Everybody's kind of. I struggle with that.
Exactly.
You know, at some point.
There's power in connection.
Yeah.
And if I can connect and there's power in that understanding that I'm not alone. And if I can go, oh, I don't have to be ashamed of this. I don't have to think that I'm the only one, and somebody's going to think I'm weird if I don't. It's like, you deal with this too. I mean, that's one of the things when people come into therapy and I tell them, oh, that's normal for somebody to feel that way. Wait, what? I've been dealing with this for years, thinking I'm crazy or thinking I'm less than a man and stuff like that. To go, no, look at what's going on in your life. That would be normal to feel that way. Now, it's not normal to stay there, but it's normal to feel that.
That's funny you say that, because one of my favorite quotes in life is that it's okay to not to be okay. It's not okay to stay that way.
Exactly, without a doubt.
And when I heard that, I was like, oh, you know, that just kind of.
And that's the thing. We talked about the problems and depression. There's a difference, kind of like in addiction. There's a functioning alcoholic, and then there's a dysfunctional alcoholic. You know, and both of them are alcoholics. It's just one has figured out ways to work through things. Their alcoholism or their drug addiction or whatever affects it, but it doesn't end their behavior and stuff like that.
But they're still dependent upon it.
They're 100% dependent on it.
And it's still holding them back from
Absolutely. Something. But it's not the one that cannot get out of bed all night long or all day long or whatever. So there's 2 different things. Well, it's the same way with us with what we deal with. Everybody goes through some type of midlife crisis.
Yeah.
There's nobody in this world that can say, I have never struggled with any of this stuff. Now, the problem is some people struggle more than others.
Okay. So, get uncomfortable up in here a little bit for me.
Up in here.
Up in here. I would say I would probably on the verge of being a functional guy going through midlife crisis.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, like I said, I've cut hair for 25 years. You know, kids are leaving. I don't feel as needed anymore. And it's just like I'm always thinking, man, in my head is, man, what's next? Like, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And then I come and present a podcast. to
yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, and Justin says, "Hey, man, you want to do something? Let's do a podcast." And what's the first thing I said?
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah," because I ain't got nothing going on, you know. But it's one of those things that, you know, and I'm always trying to be as real as I can. It's just sitting there going, "Man, Zach, like, it's okay. Just take a breath, do your thing. You know, everything's gonna." Man, something's going to come. Something's going to be, you know, and I have to mentally self-talk myself just, you know, daily or weekly and reflect about what life really is and what it looks like. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm just like, man, I'm not you know, like. Yeah.
Well, there's a difference. The biggest thing is I would never say to anybody that you shouldn't look for change.
Yeah.
And that you shouldn't try to achieve. Mm-hmm. We're not saying, if you're in a midlife crisis, that you should just always stay in this lane.
Yeah, yeah.
Being healthy means I'm looking at opportunities.
Yeah, yeah.
Being a midlife crisis, we're not in crisis sitting in here.
Yeah.
We're having fun. We're sitting down talking. There's nothing going on in crisis. We're talking about a lot of stuff. We can make big decisions. We got to do that. Crisis is when you do something that is going to cause a problem.
Yeah.
If I started, knock on wood, had a heart attack right now, y'all are in crisis.
Yeah.
You've got to go in crisis mode going, we're not going to sit. I hope you would not sit around and finish the podcast type of thing.
I'd be like, Justin, you give him mouth
you give him mouth to mouth. All right,
I'm doing compressions.
Exactly. But the point is, to think what else is there is healthy.
Yeah.
To do it. To act on something that is going to hurt you, the people around you, you know, like I said, that's a problem.
But I think, and I agree with that, and there's no way disagreeing with that, but I'm just thinking from just a regular guy's, you know, I have to talk myself out of not doing something stupid.
But,
you know,
you talk yourself out of it, which is number one, shows you're still functional.
Yeah, I'm still functional.
The second thing is I would hope before you would do that, you would say, okay, I'm really thinking about doing this.
Consult me in.
Let's go consult somebody and talk about this, or my wife that it does affect. And then at that point, make a positive decision. And it might be a big decision that changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
Change is fine. I have something that I came up with years ago and I love to go by. Change is the only thing worth risking. But by changing, you risk everything. So
pretty profound.
Yeah. But it is. I want to change and get better.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
But by changing, things are going to be different. Mm-hmm. Things are going to change. And sometimes I'm going to make a change that other people aren't always going to be comfortable with, but I have to make sure I don't make a decision for what is the outcome. I make a decision for what's right.
Okay.
So if I'm making a decision I'm making a decision because I want that to happen. Well, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I can't guarantee that. But if I look at the decision I have to make and go, that's the right decision to make right now. This is going to be for my family, for the people around me. I'm not the only one making this decision. Most midlife crises are made because they are only thinking about themselves. I'm not fulfilled, so I want this.
Okay, so Justin, you like change? Do you like change? Are you
see, I do.
You do. I know. We've talked about. That's why I'm asking.
Like I'm really risky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And whenever
we talked about this last
because
week.
I mean, you think about it, like y'all pick at me about playing multiple instruments.
Yeah. Can't figure out which one you want to play.
Yeah, because like I was like, man, I want to try that. Mm-hmm. I got to see if I can accomplish that or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's the way.
And see, the difference is you don't like change?
I don't. I'd be the guy who said, I'm gonna play the guitar and I'm gonna be the best in the world at it.
Well, I'm not saying.
And I'm not gonna move over to anything else.
He's definitely not the best. So that's why he goes.
But he can play 20 and he does decent at all of them. Like, but I'm the different. I wouldn't challenge myself.
Yeah. But that's why you're both in different reasons that you would struggle with midlife crisis.
Yeah.
you're going to try to keep it till you just can't stand it anymore. And then all of a sudden, boom, here
I'm
it is type of thing.
I'm a bomb.
You
Tick, tick.
are more, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this.
Yeah, I got like ADD.
Exactly. So it's more the midlife crisis is not focusing and moving toward one thing that's going to be the best for you, your family, whatever. Where you're going to be, I'm sitting, I'm doing, then all of a sudden, I just can't take it anymore, and I got to make a huge decision. And then it might be this monstrous decision that everybo's like, "What?"
I hate when somebody does. Hey, just figure me. He just put me out there like on a platter, and I'm just sitting there like, "That's me." Give me a picture. Like he just figured me out.
I was sitting here thinking,
I got to pay for that.
Are we getting a free counseling?
Yeah, because I'm just sitting there like.
But you got it. Part of not going through a midlife crisis is knowing who you are.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You got to look at it and go, dude, I struggle with it. Me and you talked about this forever. We grew up. You know, when I was very young, I had a huge problem with alcohol.
Yeah.
Huge problem. And I luckily ran into this blonde girl that set me straight, and I'm still married to her to this point. But even though it's been 20-something years since I've touched it, I know it's not a choice for me. Not even one. And I've told all my friends, if you see me with something in my hand that is not water or something that's not, there's a problem, so to step in now.
Yeah.
And there's things I can't do in my life. I love live music. I can't go to certain places to watch it because I know I won't be able to say no. So I know myself enough to know. Now, there's other parts of my life that I'm blind to, but that's one thing. I know myself, and I can't allow that. So it's important for you to figure yourself out, or you will get caught in that midlife crisis because you're just like, I don't know what. Okay, let me go do this.
Okay, so the guys that are out there, give them some things. I guess if they're contemplating right now that, man, maybe I'm there. Maybe I'm there. Like, I don't know. I'm struggling with marriage. I'm struggling, or I just don't know what it is. But I'm just not happy.
Absolutely.
I'm just
absolutely.
And there's a lot of guys who I think know that they're not happy. They just don't know why they're not happy.
Here's where I'm going to give the plug for counseling. Okay. That's a third party, non-biased. Hey, let's walk through some things that you might be thinking or what's going on type of thing. So a counselor, a healthy, good counselor. Okay. Not all of them are, but a good counselor, especially that can talk to a man, that can talk through and work through some of those things, So number one, having a counselor that you could sit down with and go, man, something's just wrong. Well, let's walk through some of that stuff and what might be happening and how you could fix what you got now before you ruin it. Because we as men, we can ruin something really fast, especially when it comes to relationships and type of stuff. So it might be, hey, let's talk about that. Your marriage, your job, your parenting, your body, and then your spirituality. Those are the 5 major things that you've got to check yourself and go, where am I with these things? Your marriage, you do not have to take work home with you, but you will always take home to work with you.
Yeah.
Always.
Exactly.
If my wife is mad at me, I'm not going to do that well. And I'm going to feel like a fake talking to people about marriage if my marriage is falling apart. So I'm going to take work home to work with me. I've had where I've taught a Sunday school class with young adults, and me and my wife got in a fight that morning, and I'm praying, going, God, I don't want to talk about this in front of them, and I'm like, this, I don't feel good.
I did do that. I had a whole lesson plan going in there. Me and Heather got in a fight that morning, and I just had to go in there and say, y'all, I can't even teach this lesson.
Exactly.
I said, me and this lady holler and screamed at, like I'd feel such a hypocrite teaching y'all this because I can't do it.
Imagine when somebody's coming to me wanting to pay me to fix their marriage when she can't stand to be in the room with me that afternoon. I'm going, I'm supposed to help you, and I feel like this.
Yeah.
But that's why men keep their mouths shut, because we don't feel good. We want to win.
Yeah, we ain't got it all together.
We don't, and we want to win, and we want to be seen that way as a winner and type of thing. So we won't talk. So, but if I look at my marriage, I look at my job, I look at my parenting, I look at my body, and I look at my spirituality. If I look at those 5 things, those are the ones that are going to make me feel fulfilled in my life.
I try not to look at my body.
I try not to, but unfortunately, it's in the mirror every morning.
Oh no, I get it.
Exactly. And
I try to fog mine up, turn on a hot shower, so I don't have to see nothing.
Yeah, I think my wife's turning the fan on to go, you see what's in there? Come on, bud. She gets every day while I'm not working out and all that stuff. But those things. Even me personally, even though she said, but raw talk, and she'll watch this and I'll have to explain this. One of the reasons I love going to the gym. I love working out. I love doing it. But I also know where I was a few years ago and where I am now. And when she's still working out, she's going, hey, you're not healthy. Why aren't you going to the gym? The first thing is, a man, I ain't going to the gym today.
You call me, I'll show you.
Exactly. I'm the one with gonna have a heart attack, not be there for my grandkids, and look horrible in the mirror.
Order that Johnny's Pizza.
Exactly.
Let's go.
But it's that ego.
Yeah.
It's that thing.
Yeah. Don't call me out on my failures when I'm feeling it already.
Yeah.
You know I feel that way.
Yeah. And
words matter.
Are good at that.
Words matter.
Especially, but we're big tough men. We don't get upset about words like that. Oh heck yeah, you'll be in the back room crying most of the time.
We got a big ego.
We got
huge ego. Even when you know it's not true, you still got a big ego.
Yeah.
But so if I'm looking at those 5 things, those being healthy are the best things that will keep me out of a midlife crisis. Now, is there going to be a time in my life I want a new truck?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a time in my life I want to make a big change in my life? Yes.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing them healthy and I'm doing them right and I'm doing with people I trust, then I'm going to make better decisions. And I'm not going to be caught in that situation where I'm off the rails going, forget y'all, and I don't care what y'all think, because I just want to be happy type of thing. Where you're getting your fulfillment is extremely important.
You said that
us
while
as Christians, God tells us where we need to be in our fulfillment.
Well, you said that before we even started our podcast, is you're trying to be, if you're trying to be fulfilled through your wife, or through your kids, or even through your job, you're setting yourself up for
failure.
Ultimately, everybody's got that hole that can only be filled with Christ. By relationship with Christ.
Exactly. And you're going to look at things different if you have that relationship with Him, if it's strong. But the thing is, if you look at all those other things, my wife, my marriage, my parenting, my career, and my body, those 4 things, all 4 of those things you are not in complete control of. You have to worry about somebody else. And so we need those to be healthy, but we can't find our fulfillment in those because those things don't just depend on you. Yeah. I could be the greatest husband in the world and have a marriage that's falling apart.
That is probably, I think, the umbrella over
100%.
This whole thing is we all want to be so independent.
And so in control.
So in control. And me and my son was talking about this the other day. I was like, you know, he was talking about freedom and being free and moving out and doing his thing. And I'm like, man, that is such a misconception.
Oh, 100%.
That is being a real man 100%. Is to have, just be out there doing it on your own.
Yes.
I was like, trust me, you don't want to do this by yourself.
No,
I said, I don't know where that misconception started or where a man is, I can do it by myself.
Say anything, be a man,
keep that in, rub dirt on it, suck it up. And I'm like, man, that hurt. I'm gonna cry. Yeah. If I break my arm, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
If I'm bleeding, I want to get taken care of.
Absolutely.
I don't want to rub dirt on it and just suck it up and go on about my business. But there's so many men out there who are just miserable in their marriage, and it ain't no midlife. They might have been miserable in their 20s. Yeah. And now it's just manifesting later.
You hadn't dealt with it.
They ain't dealt with it.
Those 5 things have not been healthy
That's
in a long time.
In a long
and
time.
You're finally like, forget it. I'm throwing them all away.
But that becomes the norm.
Do it.
Yeah, it becomes, and that, okay, and I've seen it. It's been, those 5 things have been unhealthy since the beginning. Mm-hmm. So let's have a kid.
Exactly.
And now my kids has satisfied me. Now they're gone.
Yes.
So all these 5 things are manifesting themselves again.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, we don't have a distraction with ball games and football and baseball or track or schools or all these distractions that kids give us.
We have to get along.
And now we got to get along. Or my job was okay because it was paying for all of these things.
Yes.
And I was okay because, and that's me, like I'm not a career-oriented person, but I've always made enough money to take care of everything. Mm-hmm. So I've always felt blessed in my job. But now that things are starting to slough off, my kids don't need as much, and things are kind of, and
give it to me.
I'm going to pass it on down, tithe and offering a little bit more.
All right,
one of the statements that we just made is about the hand and wife, kids, job thing. What happens a lot of time, the example of that is where a midlife crisis comes from, is things are withering up. They're not what they need to be. You haven't protected them. You haven't made them healthy in a really long time. And it kind of gets to that hand, and you get to that midlife crisis like, well, I'm going to throw those away and I'm gonna go get another hand. I'm gonna go get more stuff. Maybe that new car, maybe that new job, or maybe a new relationship's gonna make me feel good. Like when it was healthy is going to, and when it's gone, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go find anything I can to get that back, type of thing. And that's a scary thing because it affects everybody around you, but you're just willing to do whatever to get what you need out of that deal.
Yeah,
Man,
This
that's
has
some
been-
good stuff.
been a great conversation.
Man, and we could go on for
Oh, man.
hours and hours more on this stuff.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have you
I'd
back
love to.
because we get
Yeah.
free counseling. Man.
Yeah, that's what you always make friends with the people you got to pay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, most of my friends are counselors and
so I don't
doctors.
know about you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a
Hey,
service. You
it's
know?
a service.
I can just
Okay.
talk to Brandon like, "Hey man, what do you feel about this?" And then he just goes on, and I just go home and use it.
I know,
I keep wondering why my hair. I don't have very much. It takes me like 2 hours to get it cut.
That's
You
right. I
just
keep asking him while I'm cutting his hair. I'm like, "Hey man, what would you do in this situation?" Yeah.
No, not that it's me. It's,
Yeah.
I knew somebody was sitting in this
Yeah.
chair and they were having this problem.
That's right.
Hey, Brandon, tell everybody where they can find you.
I have a website that is www.faithinthefamily.life. You can go on there. I have some resources, have stuff about me and about our counseling program. I'm licensed in like 6 different states doing counseling and those things. But then also you can schedule an appointment online. You don't even have to talk to a secretary or whatever. You can look at the schedule, click, point, do that, and then come in and see me in person or telehealth if you need to. So good opportunity to talk and to work those things out.
See, it's
Yeah.
easy.
It's
He makes it
easy.
easy for
I
you.
try to make it
That's-
as easy as possible because I like it easy for me.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I can make it easy for you, it makes it easier for me. Type of thing.
And if you know me, if you called me and you were struggling, Brandon would be one of the first person
Most
I would
definitely.
refer you to. So
I appreciate
I've got a lot of trust in him.
And the other side of that is if you're around here or you're off. I mean, like I said, I'm in a lot of different states. If you're around here and you don't want to come talk to
Yeah,
me,
refer you.
I could refer you to some good, healthy counselors that
good.
are going to give you good information.
That's great.
But I definitely truly believe a lot of men don't go because they're scared of talking to a woman or just talking in general.
Yeah.
But having somebody that they feel like they can come might understand them is a big deal. But if they don't want to come talk to a man, I know other people that I can get them involved.
Good
with.
deal. That's great.
Hey, man, thanks for coming.
I appreciate
Thanks.
it, man. I loved it. I'll do
Yeah.
this all day.
All right.
We good.
Good.
Goodbye.
Good deal. Thank y'all.